TOA Community, Fit Body Bootcamp, and Fit Body Forever communities. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Robert Linkul with TrainingTheOlderAdult.com, here to talk to you today about a very cool video that I got to watch. It's from Dr. Peter Attia's MD website. I am a member of his community, and in this particular episode, he interviews Belinda Beck, and Belinda Beck is the originator of the LIFTMOR study. LIFTMOR stands for Lifting Intervention for Training Muscle and Osteoporosis Rehab. That is a good acronym because it does encourage you to lift more, which is exactly what she talks about here in this interview. And I want to share just this one clip. There were so many good clips from this, but let's start here. Let's start with this one and kind of break it down a little bit piece by piece here for you as we go. Here we go.
With all of that, I think that one of the saddest sort of, I think, misconceptions people have is that once they get to a certain age, it's too late. And they sort of accept their fate. And, oh, I have this kyphotic spine, and, oh, my bones are too brittle, and I guess I'm just going to spend the next decade of my life doing nothing.
This is a big part of the older population's misconceptions is they do think, well, I'm kyphotic and I just can't do anything about that. For those that don't know that term, it's like the Mr. Burns kind of posture from The Simpsons. His head's forward, his shoulders are rounded. He's got a big kind of almost like a hunch around his shoulder blades where basically gravity has won and is pulling and warping and rounding his body down. And then due to that forward folding and rounding, it kind of pre-stretches the muscles in your lower back and in your glutes. And so it causes you to tuck your butt underneath. And so your spine kind of just goes straight down. And then that causes you to take smaller, kind of wobbly little steps. And it's just a recipe for disaster. So a lot of people get to this point and they go, well, this is just how I am. I can't fix it. Which if you're, 65, 70 years old, you're probably right. You can't fix it, but it doesn't mean that you can't improve your quality of life, right? So we're going to get into that here. But there's also a misconception that those individuals that are kyphotic should not lift weights, that it's a danger to them. And that is absolutely not correct. If you are able to hold a muscular extended position, even if you're kyphotic and curve over, as long as you're able to activate musculature to hold you in what your version of extended is, and you can maintain that posture, though for most of us, we would look at that and go, that's a really round back, that probably hurts. That is their back position, their normal back position. So if they can hold that position tight and deadlift, the benefits of deadlifting in all the other realms, all the other areas of life are so much more effective. There's so much more to gain from that than the possible concern of hurting the upper back, middle back in this kyphotic position that they're already kind of stuck in all the time and their body's already adapted to being like that. So it only behooves people to resistance train, not to avoid or shy away from it.
And studies like this demonstrate that that's not the case. And so I'm looking for some of the other kind of soft stuff as you think about the evolution of this study. I mean, what else did you notice in the subjects? What did they tell you? How did this translate into the rest of their lives? Because obviously you as an investigator are looking for something very specific, right? You want to probably understand how much muscle mass they put on, what their bone density did, how much their T-scores changed. But were there other things that you learned about these women as the study went on that spoke to their quality of life?
Now, before she answers that, the LIFTMOR studies, they encouraged lifters. They informed them ahead of time. You're coming in to do heavy lifting. There's 5 lifts. You're going to do deadlifts with a barbell. You're going to do loaded back squats and or box squats where you sit down to a box or a bench and stand up. But the bar is on your back if you can hold it there. Overhead press, strict overhead press. And then they had jumping pull-ups where they had some impact where they came back down. And what was the 5th one? Sit to stands, deadlift, overhead press, row, a horizontal row. They had a horizontal row. So those are the 5 lifts. And they did no more than 5 repetitions. Their goal was to do 5 sets of 5 with anywhere between 80 to 85% of their 1 rep max. And it took them 30 minutes to do that as they went through all their lifts, and they came in twice a week. So literally an hour of their life, 2 half-hour sessions over the course of 8 months. They wanted to do, she said she wanted to make it a year, but they made it 8 months, and they still saw significant changes in these ladies. Okay, and I won't jump the shark. There's some great ones she's going to announce to you, but understand, we're talking 5 lifts. That's it, 30 minutes. And they were lifting heavy, right? They're definitely lifting heavy, but that's where it's like you need to lift more studies, right? You need to lift more if you really want to increase bone density, gain muscle mass, etc.
Yeah, undoubtedly. And for them, that was the most important thing. And that is what made me want to open the clinic. This is a quality of life issue. It turns out this is not a bone issue. I'm a bonehead. I care about what their BMD scores did. But the reality is comments like, oh my God, Belinda, I can see my shoulders in the mirror again, because their posture changed. The fact that we had, when you do a clinical trial, you measure height and weight as the standard baseline, how to describe your population.
This is crazy.
Who knew that we would actually be citing height as an outcome? Because the control group shrank, whereas the intervention group grew a little. Of course, they didn't grow, but their posture improved to the extent that they were taller at the end of the study. And the difference between groups was significant. It was only half a centimeter, but hey, wouldn't you prefer
That's
to
in
maintain?
8 months. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Okay, so the control group, let's go over them real quick. They did walking every other day, and then on their lifting days, basically, quote unquote, they did calf pumps, they did lateral lunges and some step ups, all body weight work. They did arm circles and step jacks and a couple other things they suggested in there. Some Tai Chi on occasion. They just did not lift weights, but they were active. They were active for, I want to say, maybe even close to double. Maybe it was 2 hours a week. If not, it was equal, an hour, 2 half-hour sessions for sure. But they did not lift weights, and so that showed the control group shrank over those 8 months, and the invested group basically increased and improved their posture to the point where they measured taller. It did not make them, oh, hey, I grew an inch. It's not that. It's that they're starting to reverse the negative effects of their body losing this battle to gravity with their bones softening, etc. So pretty cool there, right? Let's get into quality of life.
so those, if you like, soft outcomes, people saying, my husband is hiking the Kokoda Trail, and I just thought I was going to be cheerleading. I can go with him now. I've got this incredible strength. I've basically got my life back. I can get into the gut.
How cool is that? I got my life back. How many people? I don't remember the exact number. I want to say there were 548 people or something like that, and they had 160 that could not participate. So upwards of 400 people that went through this, if I'm remembering that correctly. Actually, I have it right here. Let me make sure that I am getting in the right numbers. But that's amazing. It's that many people that, 568 people that started into this, expressed interest. 162 could not participate. So 406 people were eligible, and they excluded 305. So it was 100 people, never mind. 100 people that went into it. They excluded them because they were unable to participate in a lot of the lifts. Some of the activities they said were going to be too much for them. They had bone mineral density scores that were not equivalent to what they wanted. They needed people that had bad bone density scores. That was the whole idea. So if you were a -1 or better, you couldn't be in the study. So people got excluded for that. The medical contradiction to heavy physical activity, 101 people got removed from the study for that one. And then they had another medications known to affect bone health, 15 people that got removed from that. Super cool to look through all this stuff. But okay, so 100 people said, man, we had a significant improvement in our quality of life. I mean, that's just amazing. I'll show you that study here in just a second. Let's keep rolling here with the doc, and then I'll show you those.
And then I can push the wheelbarrow full of potting mix around now, and I don't feel like I'm going to break. And I can lift my grandchild again. I can get my own shopping out of the car. It's all about independence, quality of life. We measure quality of life as well, and
They measured quality of life as well, she said, and everybody reported much higher qualities of life in there. Just so cool, just so cool. I'm such a fan of this. The more I dive into this study, and there have been many other additional studies along with this. Here, this gives you a little bit more. Let me zoom in on this so you can see this a little bit better. This gives you a little bit more of what exactly we're kind of looking at with the groups. Here you go. So 568 that got into this, that were interested. 162 declined to participate after they heard they were going to be lifting heavy weights. So 406 were eligible, and then you can see there's what I was reading off as we went through. You had 46 that went into the high intensity resistance training, the progressive resistance, and then the other one was the control group. And they had, they've got great data in here. It's very in depth, and they show just the great variety of benefits that came from this, when the simplicity of the programming is really, really basic. I mean, those 5 exercises, okay, are not something that is overly technical. It's not like they were teaching them cleans and jerks and snatches and they had to do plyometrics or anything like that. I mean, this was a, sorry if I'm making y'all dizzy here. This was a major, I would say a groundbreaking study that produced amazing results for our profession. And it was done so in a very, very simple fashion with the most basic lifts that we all learn in, day one of a personal training certification. So it's amazing to see how effective this is. It's just now simply shedding the light and having doctors like Dr. Beck, like Dr. Attia, and everyone else that we reference, Dr. Gabrielle Lyon and Dr. Huberman and Andy Galpin and Lane Norton and Dr. Stacy Sims and everyone else. The more doctors we have out here that are now pushing this idea that and showcasing the research that bone density health, that muscle mass gain is so good for our aging populations. It's a fantastic listen if you want to watch on Peter Attia's website, or excuse me, on his YouTube page. You can pop on there and watch. There's a couple of clips with Dr. Beck on there, and she's great and goes through all the health history and everything that they put everybody through. It's just really interesting. Now, since then, as I was saying before, this was like 2015, I think she said, or 2014, something like that. Since then, there have been multiple meta-analysis that are done and other studies that are basically using this and trying to implement in some other lifts or some other philosophies and having good results as well. Some of which I have showcased in other videos and other presentations and didn't even know that they were connected, or origins, if you will, the origin story of the LIFTMOR. So further we dive into this, the more I am finding some extremely beneficial information, and just wanted to share that with all of you. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to throw them in the chat down below. I appreciate you all. I hope you're doing great. And until next time, continue to fight your good fight against sarcopenia. Take care.